There comes a time in everyone's life where we must face the truth. But what is the truth? Did existence really begin with the Big Bang? Is what we've been taught in our history books some sort of fictional reality? It's hard to find the truth in a world full of lies. However, we do have the strength within us to find the truth, to unveil it, and present it to the world for what it really is. It's your world, your reality, your truth. Well, looks like it's time for the top 75 cash defacings. This is going to be real fun. Now remember folks, do not deface legal tender. I like this one, it's got a political message to it. Idle no more. Blood money, this person knew what's going on. Square and compass. Zombie bucks. Corpses, blood money. Now this is good, Donnie Darko. This is transhumanism. Ronald McDonald, Rotten Ronnie. Yeah, the Queen sure is a pirate, that's for sure. Oh, Mr. Spock. Beam me up, Scotty. Spend more and live less. You got that right. I'm fancy. Yeah, he sure is. There's Mario. And yeah, these guys are definitely pirates. Oh, there's the guy from Harry Potter. Yeah, there's the Wicked Witch of the West. That's good. Now we're gonna see some other countries here. That's a good one there. This one is one of my favorites, definitely Two-Face. That's awesome. And some of these you'll notice messages on the bottom. This one's really good too. Squid Face from Star Wars. Terminator 2, Lincoln. Edward Scissorhands. Another goth kid or something. And, of course we got Kiss, gotta have them for sure. This one's politically correct, I guess you could say. There's Batman. Superman. Not really, but you get the point. Some demonic money here. Some Gene Simmons seems to be popular. This one's awesome. Yoda, it's a pretty good sketch there. Here's Leonardo, Ninja Turtles. And some of these people use markers and pens. That one's awesome. Why so serious? This one I think is framed or something. It's been markered. My spoon's too big. Yep. The Power Rangers. Gotta have them in there. Go Power Rangers. This one's awesome. Spartan. Or Sparta. This one's the banana spoon too big. This one's really good. I love that one. I think they used a bit of whiteout on that. This one is a series of bills. There's another Harry Potter one. That one looks like Arnold for sure. That's a good one. This is Ghostbusters, Boba Fett, and this one's awesome too. And some of these, they use different mediums for them. Pencil crayons. Some of them are painted. Some of them have marker. Some people used whiteout and colored over top. This one's really good there too. Krusty the Clown. That was definitely painted. That one as well. It's a good job there for sure. That one's awesome. Gotta love it. Definitely. Yeah. Bug-eyed. $1 bill, y'all. And I'm sorry for laughing, but some of these are just outright hilarious. I mean, I always, sometimes I get a bill that's defaced, and I mean, I gotta say it. Bill Murray looks just like him. Definitely. This is United States of Tron. Another bug-eyed corpse. There's an angry citizen, I guess, a monkey man, a lycanthrope. This one's like a Bazooka Joe comic. That one's really awesome with whiteout. Another one, I believe, with whiteout and then colored on. Pee Wee Herman. Lincoln in Escape from L.A. It's a good sketch. There's another good sketch of a wizard. Some of these are common. That one's awesome. Facehugger and Predator. But some of these are common. You'll see multiple ones of the same idea. That one's really good too. The praying mantis coming out. It's awesome. But look, there's a lot of the one with Spock and stuff. Shoop da whoop. Hannibal Lecter. Definitely some good art here. These are classics. I don't know. It's always funny when you see a bill like this or with messages on it and stuff, I gotta say. Assassin's Creed. That one's cool. There's another corpse with blood money. Blood money seems to be a good reference. That one is amazing. I think they use paint for that one. And I didn't want to use any photoshopped ones in this video. I wanted to use original hand-drawn cash art, I guess you could call it. That's Clockwork Orange, and I gotta say, thanks for watching, guys. Please share and like this video on your pages, and check out the music. Axel Rosenberg, awesome composer. And for more videos, subscribe to Unveiling the Truth and Mark Howitt channels on YouTube. Tons of good videos out there about truth and awareness and stuff like that. Don't forget to tune into Unveiling the Truth, live Saturday nights. Today's special guest is none other than the great Vinny Eastwood from New Zealand. He is the host for the Vinny Eastwood Show, and that is a highly watched New Zealand news show. Tons of people check that out, and I believe on the website it says that it's the top viewed alternative news source in New Zealand. So it is an honor to have Vinny Eastwood on the show. For anybody who is not aware of who Vinny Eastwood is, he's definitely a one of a kind, I guess you could say, when it comes to people like us, broadcasters and people that get guests on and present information. He's had a ton of guests on his show, and he's definitely a character. He's got a humorous personality, which makes him one of a kind, I think, in the broadcasting, especially presenting this kind of information. So I do look forward to having him on the show. I'm going to bring him on in just a minute there. And for anybody out there who have been following my work and checking out the broadcasts, as well as some of my previous work before I started broadcasting, you may remember that I did an interview with Vinny Eastwood on the Vinny Eastwood Show while I was on the March of Freedom, and that's how I was introduced to him, actually. And after meeting him in the cyber form, I guess you could say, online doing the interview, I definitely thought that I had to get him on this show. So without further ado, I'm going to give Vinny a call there, and we'll have him on the show. And I have a feeling that this is going to be a good episode because Vinny is awesome. He's definitely a character, that's for sure. So I'm just going to bring him up here and get him on board. Right on. So today on the show we have joining us from New Zealand, the front lines of New Zealand, Vinny Eastwood of the Vinny Eastwood Show. And for those of you who haven't checked out his work, I highly suggest it. He's a very unique individual, especially in the broadcasting scene. There's no one else like him. The way he presents everything is just very unique, I have to say. And you are definitely, I would say, the funniest broadcaster I've ever seen in my researching and you know, checking out other broadcasters. You definitely put the lighter side of things into the whole, when you're presenting such you know, harsh information. Sometimes it's good to keep a lighter side, and I think you definitely are the king of that. So welcome to the show, Vinny. How's it going there?
No, it's not too bad. The missus crunched the numbers about what we need just to keep our house afloat this week. And so, yeah, it's about 900 New Zealand dollars that I need within the next 2 days donated. So I hope that works out for me. Otherwise, I'm going to have to cancel my broadcast and go get a slave job. I
had to do the same thing a week ago.
I can do that. I don't even know how I can do that psychologically speaking, because the last 2 times that I went for a job interview, I had a freaking panic attack because I just can't be a slave. Pretty stressed out, actually, to answer your question.
Well, I do thank you for joining the show today on such, bad terms and stuff. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because, I've always been DIY kind of person, trying to do everything myself. And just recently, bills came racking up. I had to go find myself a 9-to-5 and become a slave myself. So, it is unfortunate. And I do hope that you can keep your broadcast going. That would be very unfortunate. But I'm hoping for the best, and I'm sure your fans are too. And do you think?
Let's hope so.
Do you think that has to do with something about the financial climax there in New Zealand? Like, how is everything going economically there, and how is everything in New Zealand?
I just saw a bar chart. The hockey stick graph that they use for climate change.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, the New Zealand government just released a hockey stick graph of debt after our Federal Reserve banker Prime Minister became elected.
Oh really? Wow.
So it's just like that, we're in 10 times as much debt as when he got elected, right?
Wow.
And so, it's not doing too good, this country. Unless, of course, you were a criminal banker, and debt is a good thing because it means that you can sell off the country to the New World Order, in which case, it's fabulous.
Mm-hmm. And I know you don't want to sell out to that, so you're busy promoting everything that's going on, and one thing as well is you're always on the front line there in New Zealand as well. Anybody could check out some videos.
I wouldn't say often. I wouldn't say always.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's cool. But is there a lot of political uprise there? A lot of hatred towards the government and what's going on over there?
Well, I don't know. Imagine for a moment that the United States is New Zealand, okay? Everything that you've got going on there with the fluoride, the chemtrails, the police state, the scumbag banksters in control it, everything like that, just copy-paste it. It's New Zealand, more or less. Except we have a different accent and a slightly smaller population, and it's about right. We've got fracking going on, deep sea oil drilling by Anadarko as well. I mean, you really do have to understand that we do live in a globalized dictatorship now, when all the same scumbaggery that is going on in the United States happens in New Zealand anyway. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter that we're 10,000 clicks away.
Yeah, in Canada, it's the same thing. We have the same kind of thing, fracking. It's copy-paste United States as well. And another thing, too, that we have in common between Canada and New Zealand is we still have the monarchy. That's right in our face. The symbolism in the buildings, on the banker notes, on everything. It's all there linked to the royalty. Is it as bad in New Zealand as it is here in Canada?
Yeah, just as bad. The Queen retains her rights to surveil every single parliamentarian, which she does do. The State Intelligence Services, SIS, and I think in Canada they're called CSIS, the Canadian State Intelligence Services.
Yep.
And basically what the Queen does is she makes sure that every single politician is surveilled 24/7, so that if any of them actually pass any laws or even come up and even think about passing laws that will destroy the Crown's dictatorship over our countries, that person winds up having a whole bunch of blackmailing stuff and whatnot. It's just not a nice thing to do, especially if you're trying to say that, there's no empire anymore. We're not trying to ruthlessly, criminally enslave everybody. And in fact, it happened in Canada, didn't it? The Queen dissolved Parliament. Now, she didn't dissolve Parliament in the way that I believe Parliament should be dissolved in a vat of sulfuric acid, but but she retains that right. And every time the government kind of gets to the point where it's like, hey, you know what? Maybe enslaving all the people is not a very good idea, eh? It's like, boom, dissolve Parliament, you can't do that to my empire.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's still the same here. They say that we claimed our independence from the monarchy and all that stuff, but that's just a cover story. We all know it. I don't know if they gave you guys your freedom, but in Canada they claim to have.
Oh, we have the freedom to do what we're told, basically.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing the Vinny Eastwood Show? I gotta learn a bit of information about your show here, and for the viewers out there watching, I know that you've done quite a few episodes of the Vinny Eastwood Show. What got you to want to do the show, and how long have you been doing it for?
What got me to want to do the show is not a choice, but a lack of options. I was just kind of like, I was listening to a whole bunch of Alex Jones and I think I watched like 160 documentaries in 6 months. So I had a radically quick wake up. And so I went through all those stages that truthers normally go through in a very quick succession. So I went through the denial, I went through the depression, I went through the rage, and then I went into the acceptance. And then I started to learn how I could make a difference, and then I started making a difference. Basically, in a nutshell, that's about it. And started the show in 2010. In August, I think, I had co-hosted on AmericanFreedomRadio.com the American Freedom Report, which was renamed the Global Freedom Report when I got brought on as co-host. And they didn't like the original host very much, but they liked me, so they cancelled the show and gave it to me. Voila, the Vinny Eastwood Show. And ever since 2010, I've been pretty much interviewing all the top people you could really think of. If you go to my featured interviews page, there's like George Norrie, John Perkins, David Icke, and all these other big names, Alan Watt and whatnot. There's a shitty pun there, I'm sorry. And what occurred to me is, if you've got the internet, oh my god, the world is at your fingertips. And on top of that, if you're if you have a moralistic view of things, as I do, you have an obligation to help people whose ideas are normally either censored from mainstream media entirely, or are brought on mainstream media for only a few moments, for which they cannot really explain who they are and what they do to any great extent. So my realization, and this is how I contribute to the truth movement, was that waking up is a painful process. It's very, very painful. Your family start to hate you. Most of your friends disappear. Loneliness, I think, is the word I'd choose to describe it. Because you'd previously gotten along with everybody, you could go out clubbing and whatnot, have meaningless conversations with people and be totally satisfied with it and think you're having a happy life. And then when you realize that everything's a frickin' lie that you were ever brought up to believe, it's like you have to start your life all over again. It's almost like a trauma patient who will wake up out of a coma and doesn't know how to speak language anymore and doesn't know how to move any of their limbs, and they have to spend months, even years and years of physiotherapy just in order to be able to walk and speak normally. And that's the kind of thing that I realized. So what was missing was a New Zealand element. Okay, try as I may, I was looking around for a New Zealand talk radio show host, New Zealand YouTubers and whatnot, who were doing similar things on a par with what a lot of American filmmakers and talk show hosts were doing, exposing the New World Order and scumbaggery and what have you. And being a New Zealander, you learn everything about the States first, and then you start to think to yourself, I wonder if all of that scumbaggery that is being exposed over in the States is going on here. And within seconds of investigation, the answer becomes clear. Yes. We've got, what was it? Something like 1,400 people have been killed by New Zealand police since like the late 60s. Not one of those cops has ever gone to jail for murder or manslaughter or anything. None of them have ever gone to jail. So, they're 8 times more likely to kill you than a terrorist, allegedly. And what's interesting about that is I don't even think that it's only 8 times as many. I think it's actually quite a significant amount more than that, because of the fact that, hey, you know how many terrorist attacks there have ever been in New Zealand?
I can't.
Just one.
Oh, there was one. I was going to say I've never heard of one.
Yeah. We had the Rainbow Warrior. It was a Greenpeace ship that was in Auckland Harbour that got bombed by the French agents. Those French agents got arrested, and then the French government said, hey, release our agents. And we're like, no. And they're like, okay then. Well, all those millions of dollars of lamb's brains that we import to France every year out of New Zealand? New Zealand's like, yeah. We're going to stop importing them unless you release our agents. So New Zealand goes, oh, okay, well, let's just release your agents then. And then those agents who killed a New Zealand activist and bombed a peaceful ship came back to France and had a fanfare, a parade, a hero's parade, quite literally. Yay, you killed a New Zealander!
Wow.
You can't make this stuff up, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so one person in New Zealand history, to my knowledge, has been killed by terrorism, and then 1,400 plus been killed by the cops. And the government tells us that the terrorists are the real threat. Now, statistically speaking,
Wow.
I don't think that kind of matches up. And so the realization is the people are the real enemy, all right, to the state. And the state is the real enemy of the people. That was my profound realization. I used to believe in the power of the state. You know, I used to believe that when you voted for politicians, it was going to be a good thing. They were honest and so on and so forth. Cops told the truth. They didn't kill anybody for absolutely no reason and get away with it. These kind of naive things. And I think it was when I was in Dunedin, one of the southernmost cities in New Zealand, I got arrested for selling cannabis. I had 13 grams of cannabis on me that was rolled up in tinfoil ready for sale. And I was going to go to jail for up to 8 years for that. And for a first offense, mind you. No diversion or anything. And I was lucky that I didn't. I only got 300 hours community service, which took me like 6 months to work off when I was moved back home with my mum and worked on vineyards as well as doing my community service that year. Cannabis kind of became my pet activist issue. I joined a group called the Dactory, led by a cannabis activist called Dr. Green, and did that for about a year or so, and then it occurred to me that there's a hell of a lot more going on than just the drug war. And because there was no real New Zealand alternative media covering this kind of stuff, bar a few magazines like Ian Wishart's Investigate magazine, Jonathan Eisen's Uncensored magazine, and Catherine Smith's New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine. Other than print media in those magazine formats, there wasn't any radio or video going on. So when I was going out with my camera and filming protests, public meetings, and things of that nature, I was kind of just doing it because there was nobody else doing it. And to a large extent, there's still nobody else doing it, which is why I'm kind of desperate right now to get some financial aid so I can continue doing it. Because if I shut down, if I get evicted and what have you and don't have my internet or anything more, the New Zealand alternative media scene loses about 90% of its content. And that's just me producing that by myself without anybody's assistance to a large degree. So...
Is there like a large activist scene, or is there a lot of people protesting problems when there is protest there? Is there a lot of support for that kind of thing there?
Yeah. To a large degree. I mean, there's protests and activists all over the place. I apologize if I'm kind of waffling all over the place. I got to bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning last night because I was up late editing 2 radio shows and two video versions of those radio shows as well, and cutting them up into like 12 pieces. So if I'm not all there, you know why? It's sleep deprivation, pretty much. Now, I prioritize getting my work done and exposing scumbaggery sometimes over my sleep. And maybe this isn't such a good idea because it weakens my immune system and shuts my brain down to a certain extent. But yeah, I've got a big problem with authority, I think, and that's actually what kind of motivates me through it. Saying I hate people telling me what to do. I hate paying taxes. I hate having to register vehicles. I hate being bossed around by cops. I hate getting pushed around by cops, more specifically at protests when I absolutely haven't done anything wrong, and in fact are even trying to support them when they're trying to move protesters on by using the megaphone and telling the protesters to move slowly and calmly and stuff like that. No pushing, no rushing, and then warn the cops if they touch any of the protesters unlawfully. I'm going to have it on camera and whatnot. So I'm kind of like a one-man protest leader, and I've been given donations in the forms of equipment and money for all these years. And like if you were in my office right now, you'd look around and you'd see 2 27-inch iMac computers, tripod and a little HD camera, a GoPro camera, a 72, probably more like a 55-inch LCD screen that I have behind me, a TV that I hook up to the computer for a background, and also put the Skype interviewees up there with their webcam and whatnot. And there's just a couple of megaphones, like there's a small 15-watt megaphone and a handheld one, and a large 100-watt megaphone with a tripod and a wireless receiver and a microphone. I've got this big microphone in front of me, the Yeti Blue one that has like 4 different audio channels, so I can, if needs be, I can have up to 4 people in the studio and record an interview with this one mic. And I've done that once so far. And what my goal is to continue what I'm doing first and foremost, but secondly is actually to train others in order to teach them how to do what I can do. I had this theory that, hypothetically speaking, let's say you get 10 million listeners. Okay, that's when an agent of the New World Order will approach you and either buy you off, or blackmail you into shutting up. And I presume that might happen at some point. And somebody else told me, once they threaten your family, it's all over, because you just don't want your family to die or have their entire lives destroyed because of you. So if that ever happens, it'd be sad. But here's the thing: what if instead of me lustfully going out there trying to get 10 million listeners, what if I train 10 other people to be just as good as me and to get 1 million listeners apiece? That way, we could actually oppose the New World Order equally and do just as much damage without ever getting on their radar. That's the theory. And so, if there is anybody in New Zealand who actually does want to commit, and this is the thing, it requires a huge quantity of commitment to do this work. That's the reason I'm the only person in this country who's doing it. Because nobody else. There's 5 million people in this country. Nobody else has the commitment or the skill or the talent that I do in order to do this. That may sound really arrogant, but I can prove that. Okay? Here's how. Mark, can you name me a single New Zealand talk radio show host or YouTuber? Any single one of them come to mind?
Vinny Eastwood.
They don't frickin' exist, do they?
I haven't heard of many. I've seen your videos of you protesting on the front lines, and you definitely get right in there. And explaining your equipment in the studio and everything you've explained so far. I think it's safe to say that you are New Zealand's activist machine. You're like you're just go, and being a fellow broadcaster as well, I know how much work goes into editing. You don't sleep, you stay up late, just getting this stuff out there. And a lot of times, or most of the time, I would say like 80-90% of the time, for myself anyways, it's for no pay, and you're not making, it's not a job. And it's really sad because we're helping the world out. And I think this is a better job than working in a factory or something like that, because you feel good about what you do, right? It's not like you go to work and you're tired at the end of the day and you're like, you are tired, but you're doing it for a noble purpose is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't know. I mean, when I first started, that was very similar to how I felt. But after I've been doing it for a while, you know how your elders will kind of, I don't know, that they say, oh, you're just young, you don't know anything yet. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing. They talk down to you in that way. Well, here's the problem with being an activist for so many years. You start to look down on yourself in that exact same way. Like, the more experience you get, the more you realize you don't have much experience at all. Even though I'm probably the most prolific activist and media person in New Zealand by a huge margin, I even outrank the mainstream media in this country on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what it was I saw on your site. And I mentioned that in the intro there that, you're the top alternative news site, but I didn't know that you were the top news site on YouTube. And that is a feat in itself. I definitely congratulate you for that.
Yeah. I mean, look at it this way. Anybody who can have a YouTube channel that has zero budget, more or less, operating to a large degree, versus the 8th largest website in New Zealand. Okay, that's the New Zealand Herald and their YouTube channel, and I have nearly double the amount of subscribers that they do. Okay, anybody who can achieve that is probably doing quite well for themselves, and is certainly not messing around. You know what I'm saying? The other element here is, if you are going to try and take the media head on, don't be naive about it. You know, these are bad people. They're actually, like, I got invited into the, what was it called? Kiwi Journalists Association, the KJA, full of mainstream media people. Okay, I was invited in there, started participating, asked them very simple questions, you know, like, do you believe that such a thing as conspiracy exists, and that journalists who deny this fact are wrong? Or do you have any evidence that intelligence agencies, foreign or domestic, have infiltrated the New Zealand mainstream media at any point? After a long diatribe of abuse, denial, aggression, ad hominem attacks, nitpicking grammar Nazis, and so on and so forth, they kicked me out of the group because I was just a bad person. Right? They can't see how bad they are as people, and they project it onto me. And that really effed me off. It wasn't unexpected. You know, it was like, I joined a group of mainstream media, and it turns out they're all wankers. Well, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
You know? And so when I came out of that, I was really, really pissed off.
Have you ever, you say you've had ad hominem attacks. Have you ever had any threats on your life or felt endangered in any way from any of this?
Nothing too serious. I think it's because people don't take me seriously, and that's probably because I don't take myself too seriously. All right, it's the activists who are very credible, who do lots of training in journalism, fact checking, and things of that nature that tend to get those kind of death threats and great danger in their life. But because I'm very jovial, and I also talk about a lot of really crazy stuff on my show, I believe maybe they just don't bother with me because they think that credible and reputable people would see all these different topics that I discuss, dismiss maybe 10, maybe even 20, maybe even up to 90% of it as pure crazy conspiracy theory, and switch off. And which is good, because my show's not for those people. My show is not for the uninitiated, okay? If you're already a truther, you already know that the world is run by ruthless, criminal, sociopathic scumbaggery, and you're not very happy about it, and your friends have ostracized you, and you're depressed and or enraged. There's a couple of step programs. I mean, first of all, you've got to wake up in the first place, right? Second of all, you've got to develop a coping mechanism for knowing these things that you know. Thirdly, then you've got to figure out how you personally can make a difference to this entire system that's depressing you so that you have to cope with. And fourthly, after finding out what it is you can do, frickin' do it. Make a difference for humanity. And that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm leading by example here. I'm not messing around.
Seems that you're definitely doing the right thing. And actually, that's how we met, was when I was on a journey doing that. I was on the March of Freedom, and I came on your show as a guest, and we talked about that. And that's how I got to know the Vinny Eastwood that I know today. And I caught several of your episodes after that, and that was really awesome. You know what I mean? I really do appreciate you inviting me on the show, and I'm really happy that we did get to connect, because that's Canada, New Zealand working together to try to get these, as you coined it, scumbaggeries, get them out of their positions. And did you coin that term, scumbaggery? Because I've definitely heard that on your show.
No, actually, apparently the word scumbaggery has been around for a long, long time, long before I started using it. I've just kind of brought it into the forefront because words can exist for a long, long time before they enter common usage. And I made up scumbaggery on my own. I never saw it in a dictionary or anything before I started using it. It was only in retrospect, about a year after I started using scumbaggery on the show nearly every single day, that I found out that the word existed long before I came up with it on my own. And it reminded me of the telescope. Okay, you know who invented the telescope? I'll tell you what.
Can't say I do.
Well, here's why. 9 different guys invented a telescope on the exact same day on opposite sides of the earth.
Collective consciousness at its finest, I guess.
Yeah.
Indeed.
So I've benefited by the collective consciousness in the way of coming up with the word scumbaggery, which is quite an apt description for the people that we face, don't you think? It's not only funny, but it's also very descriptive, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Accurately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it explains it right down to a T, and that's a proper term. Definitely a proper term, and it's humorous, so it's also funny when you hear it, which is why, I think if you keep using that term, people will definitely coin you with bringing it back to life, reviving the word scumbaggery, I guess you could say, for sure.
I heard comedian Bill Burr use it on a video. He was criticizing Stefan Molyneux, I think, and he was talking about drug dealers and why can't a drug dealer just give up his scumbaggery? And I'm wondering if Bill Burr ever listened to my show and got it off me, or whether or not he's just using it. I don't know. I don't know. But because I'm in the media and because I'm a little bit narcissistic, let me explain that for a bit. Narcissism comes from Narcissus, the guy who fell in love with himself in the mirror. And what I found is it was actually Thomas Sheridan who told me about this, about what narcissism is, and he explained the character traits and things like that. And I was like, holy Shiite Muslim, that's like my character down to a T. However, I found out beforehand that all psychopaths are narcissists, but not all narcissists are psychopaths. And what Thomas Sheridan, who's an expert on psychopaths, told me that he believes I am, is what's known as a benign narcissist. Have you heard of Muhammad Ali?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm the best. You will see how good I am. Sounds like he's real full of himself, right? Well, guess what? He was the best at who he is.
Yeah.
Okay, a narcissist is somebody who loves themselves, believes in themselves, and is really has that ability to go out there and be full of themselves, but not be full of crap at the same time, which is the main point of difference between me and a lot of narcissists, is that they're actually talentless, vain, self-centered people who actually don't care about anybody else other than themselves. Me, I'm very talented, very smart, clever, and I'm hardworking and whatnot. I'm a very nice guy. I'm very friendly, and I help copious quantities of people all the time in ways that they can't help themselves. I was being interviewed on the Ian Wishart show. Ian Wishart's like New Zealand's pretty much top dog in terms of credible journalism that exposes the New World Order in this country, as in hands down. And I was asking him, what is the point if you're going to be covering media, right? Anything, any story, any person, what is the point in covering things that the mainstream media have already covered, have already said? And this was in response to a criticism that I was received by one of these people in the Kiwi Journalists Association, because I posted up a video that I made, and I stayed up all night editing this video, by the way. It was like an 8 a.m. finish for me. Long through the night with different camera angles and everything. Frack, it was a hard night. So I popped that up there on the thing just to elaborate, some of the stories that I've covered and exposed. And one of the criticisms I drew from one of these freaking douchebags was I should have also put in there the government side of the story. Okay? Oh, fluoride, the government says also that fluoride's really, really good for you. And I was like, well, hold on a second. That is the mainstream media line. They happen that all the time. However, when it comes to the anti-fluoride line, they never cover it at all. And if they do cover it, they cut the person off in mid-sentence, or they have them on with somebody else who's a doctor, a doctor denialist, more or less, who just sits there and says that everything this person says is crazy. So I said to Ian Wishart, if I'm going to be covering something, I will only cover what the mainstream media won't. Otherwise, what the hell's the point?
Mm-hmm. And it seems like if you're covering the sort of topics that we're covering, most of the time anyways, it's the truth. So we're reporting the truth with what's going on behind the scenes, and the mainstream media are presenting us lies, misinformation, brainwashing, programming material, and stuff like that. Mind you,
and good luck to them.
Yeah, mind you, the mainstream media and the news sources, they do cover stories. That is one thing that they do, is they do cover stories. They do cover topics and issues. However, it's all for an agenda of propaganda, and most of the time, unless it's like, this girl fell down and a neighbor helped her up and brought her home, and a local news story like that. If it's a big topic, a big world issue, then yes, it's often lied about, and it's up to us to bring the truth out. And it's like black and white. That's the battle, I think, within the media right there.
Yeah. And it's about moral obligation. It's about conscience, okay? Mm-hmm. A lot of these mainstream media people, I'm not going to bag them all, okay? Just most of them. Because there are good people within the mainstream media who do try to cover good stories, and then they get subverted. Their stories aren't allowed to be published in perhaps the way that they should. They've got all these deadlines, they've got word limits and such and blah, 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 blah. And they have editors that work for the CIA. So it doesn't matter what they do. Yeah. It doesn't matter what they do. They're never going to be able to report anything to the extent or to the truthfulness that people like you and I can, who are independently published, who have no boss. Okay? And I want to, extend an olive branch to those people within the mainstream media who do not like this apparatus for which they have become a part of, and if they want to be interviewed, if they want to expose the mainstream media apparatus that they were a part of, if they want to be interviewed for frickin' goodness knows 3 hours on the Vinny Eastwood Show to lay out in a painstaking detail how much of a bunch of scumbags the people who run the media in this country are, I will give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and it doesn't just extend to them; it extends to any single whistleblower in this country, any activist. Okay, I've covered damn near every single freaking issue in this country that the mainstream media doesn't report on, and it's actually quite a painful, frustrating experience to know that I bust my ass, stay up all night, damn near every night of the week, spend hours upon hours every single day interviewing people, putting stuff out on Facebook and social media and what have you, and then to go in and still have the mainstream media call me a crazy conspiracy theorist and stuff like that when I'm 10,000 times the journalist that they are. They're pathetic. Scum.
Well said.
I hate them.
Well said, and I can understand your frustration because we do work hard, and I know you have been doing this for 6 years now. This is your 6th year of doing this. And, people like us who are activists, who are reporting against the media, it doesn't matter who it is, unless you're, mind you, I think InfoWars gets quite the funding, but that's through advertisement and stuff. They're still doing a noble thing by reporting things, but they do make money, But people like us, we don't make money. And that's the difference. We're reporting on the truth and trying to help the world, and these guys who are polluting the world and corrupting it are the ones who are getting rich. And it's a money thing, right? Money corrupts.
Well, see, I have got no problem with money. In fact, I would like to have a decent chunk of it. I'd like to live in a nice home that has a separate flat or self-contained or something like that on the exact same property, so that I can put in my office and turn it into a TV studio, but with sound insulation, the whole 9 yards. People don't realize how expensive producing quality media can be. Now, at the moment, I'm running it on a shoestring budget, and I've tended to make my own TV and radio show with basically zero cost, because I have all the equipment in order to do so, and the only thing it costs me is my time and effort. right? So survival's actually not that difficult if all you got to do is pay the rent and various assorted bills. However, despite the fact that I have a low budget requirement, it's not that easy to make money when you're telling the truth. Have you ever noticed?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Who are the richest people in the world? The liars or the truth tellers? It's pretty freaking obvious, because when you lie, you don't actually have to have a good product. You don't actually have to have a revolutionary idea. You don't actually have to have a brilliant invention. You can have snake oil that does nothing and be a billionaire. Right?
Well said.
And that frickin' F's me off. I see so many decent people out there who are geniuses, absolute geniuses. I see activists who are living on just the hint, the inkling that there's a smell of an oily rag around. That's how low these people's budgets are. And they expose scumbaggery that I could never even dream of. And it's to those people who dedicate their lives, who suffer day in, day out, for the benefit of their countrymen, that I seek to serve. The countrymen that I have my greatest loyalty to are those that have the greatest loyalty to the rest of the country. You see what I'm saying? I believe that if you do something good, you should be rewarded for doing something good, and rewarded aptly. You should be appreciated. You should have somebody come out of the woodwork and support you. You should have people that care about you. You should have people that want to hear what you have to say. You should have media that tells your story in its full extent. It doesn't exist in this country, save me. And that, out of a country of 4 million people that live here, 5 million Kiwis globally, there's just me doing this. I could be proud of that fact that I'm the one. The truth is, Mark, I'm ashamed. Utterly ashamed.
Yeah, it is very hard around the world for some people to do what we do, and especially with how much you've invested in that, like with broadcasting and stuff like that. As you stated earlier, it takes a lot of time, and when you got to work a job 9 to 5, it's hard to find that time. And it's always nice if you don't have to work and you could do what you love. And I think that's really important in this day and age, is to do what we love and to, not have to suffer for it, not have to be homeless, not have to starve for doing what we love the most in life. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think trauma is one of the most important lesson givers in life, okay? The harder your life is, the faster you learn your lessons of life. Yep. Pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sick of everybody like sitting around hoping that they have a cushy job and things like that. They got all their bills paid and things like that. I mean, I remember in 2012, I think it was the very beginning of 2012, I had my donations coming in massively. Like I was actually starting to live high on the hog. I in fact, I gained a lot of weight because I was working really hard and I was really tired all the time, and so was my wife, and we were just so tired and things like that. We were going out and we were getting takeaway food almost every other night, and we both gained a significant amount of weight. And I realized something. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually living a good lifestyle off of people's generosity, and I don't think that I've earned that yet. So I prayed, and I don't pray very often. I only pray when I want something bad to happen to me. So I got down on my knees by the bed and went, Jesus, Lord, whoever's listening, send me some pain, some suffering, some scarcity, and really mess up my life. Thank you, amen. Went to bed. Woke up the next morning. PayPal had cancelled my PayPal account. So every single person over the 4 or 5 years or so that I had gotten to contribute to me regularly through PayPal, whether it be $5 a month, $100 a month, and everything like that, every single automatic payment, every single donation that I could possibly receive through my website disappeared overnight. And I was messed up, totally fracked. I was absolutely, totally just destroyed my life at that point. And I went, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Have you ever noticed that whenever you pray to the Almighty for something good, he just goes, yeah. But whenever you ask him for something bad, he goes, sure, I could do that. This is such a bastard.
Well, I don't know. I can't say I've prayed in my life, to be honest. I mean, when I was younger, I tried it a few times, and I noticed, hey, it didn't work, because maybe that's why. Maybe it's because I was always praying for something good, right?
Yeah. The way I look at it, if you want something good to happen, you have to do it yourself.
Absolutely.
If you want something bad to happen, the divine will take care of it for you.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because you are right. We do learn our lessons ourselves. I mean, it can't be God that saves us. It's got to be we, the people, working together and doing what we can do. I mean, God's not going to come down here and clean up Fukushima, or God's not going to come down here and get rid of the GMOs in our food supply, or stop the next war that's going to outbreak, or the next epidemic. It's got to be us. It really is.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. And what are your political viewpoints? I mean, I'm sure you don't subscribe to a party specifically or anything like that, but what is your idea of politics? Like, what is your outlook on that, or perception on that?
Well, let's have a look at the word. Poly means many, and then you think about polyurethane, which is kind of plastic, kind of fake, yeah? And then you think about ticks, and recall an African tick is capable of injecting you with its entire head. It actually buries its entire head under your skin. You can't get it out, and it sucks 900% of its own body weight in your blood before it drops off, gives you Lyme disease, you die, and it walks away with the loot. That's politics. And there are many of these parasites. And I've got a cynical vision of it. It's hard to know the truth and not become cynical. I'll tell everybody now. If you don't know what the hell is going on, and I don't know why the hell you would be listening to the Mark's show if you didn't already, but knowing more and more and more and more makes you predominantly cynical. It's unavoidable, because you see lies, deception, mismanagement, and scumbaggery everywhere you look in politics. Now, here's what I was planning to do. In fact, I just came up with this last night, Mark. Funny you should mention that. I was thinking of, it's election year in New Zealand this year, so I was thinking of running for the office of Prime Minister under the campaign platform Vinny Eastwood for Prime Minister. And what I'll do is I'll go up on stage and I'll tell everybody, hi everybody, I'm Vinny Eastwood, I want to be your Prime Minister. I will change the name of the Office of the Prime Minister to the Office of the Prime Minister, and I will change all the Ministers of Parliament. Instead of the Minister of the Environment or the Minister of Agriculture, there'll be the Sinister of the Environment, the Sinister of Agriculture. And also, I want to get the country into massive quantities of debt. I also want to sell the country out to foreign banks. I also want to pass progressive legislation and ram it through Parliament with absolutely no democratic accountability whatsoever, that takes you and your rights to privacy away from you by the use of technological apparatus and surveillance systems that the government will control. And I will I will persecute people who are my political opponents completely unlawfully, but because I will control the judges and everything like that, I'll be able to get away with it. Vote for me, everybody. Vote for more of the frickin' same.
So basically what you're going to do is tell the truth about what they do. Straight out.
Yeah,
not sugarcoating it or anything.
Yeah, and I'll tell them that I'm actually in support of that. Excuse me, everybody, put your hands up if you don't want to have any human rights anymore. Nobody puts their hands up. Well, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Why are you voting the way that you do? I mean, the general public, and I don't want to insult everybody, but I'm gonna anyway, because it's the truth. They're all frickin' dumb, really, really dumb. Okay, it reminds me of what George Carlin said about the American people. The average American is incredibly stupid, dumber than a second coat of paint, and get this: over half of Americans are even dumber than that. And it's not entirely dissimilar to what's going on here. We have media stories coming out almost every day that call the Prime Minister a liar and prove that he's a liar. We have statistics coming out every day that say the debt is becoming astronomical. We have 2 laws being passed per day all under urgency with no democratic accountability. This all gets reported, and guess what the polls come back with? He's the most popular prime minister ever. People are so dumb that they want to be slaves. They want to be bankrupted. They want to have no rights. They want to be distracted by things that don't frickin' matter in their entire life. And those people will kill people like me when it comes down to it. I had a conversation with Stephen Berry, he's a libertarian, and we have quite a lot of fundamental disagreements on a lot of things. Like, he doesn't believe in chemtrails, he doesn't believe that there's such a thing as a global pedophile ring, and so on and so forth. But you know, I'll take what I can get. And I said to him, look, let me ask you a question. If the government told you to, would you put on a black uniform, have a submachine gun, and come into my home and execute me and my wife without a trial or any evidence brought against us? He's like, no, I'd never do that. And I go, okay, well, we don't really have any fundamental disagreements, do we? Right? It's because he's not a mind-controlled slave. The problem is he's vastly outnumbered. I'm vastly outnumbered by 90% plus of the population who will do such a thing if commanded to by their precious frickin' government. That scares the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you think about what's going on there in Ukraine and in Italy and all those other countries right now? Do you think that it's going to just keep growing? Because I've seen it's in Thailand, Ukraine, it's happening all over. It's starting to blossom more and more in other countries. Do you think that it's going to keep escalating?
I don't know. I had a conversation with Suzanne Posel about this day before yesterday, but I'd only had like 2 hours sleep, so I can't remember a lot of what she said during the broadcast. And I actually want to apologize to her, and I should have listened to the broadcast again. But for my recollection, she was talking about protest marketing. Okay, you know, the symbol of the person holding their fist up, kind of like this, is a symbol of power, and how they use marketing to target the disenfranchised in order to foment revolutions, concoct them, manufacture them by deceiving the people who are disenfranchised and getting them to go and fulfill somebody else's agenda. It happens all the time, doesn't it? In fact, this is the majority of revolutions, according to Suzanne, have been done in such a way. And I think this is why dictators and scumbaggery always wind up happening directly after a revolution, because very few revolutions are actually done from genuine causes for genuine reasons by people who aren't marketing to you and just telling you the truth. I hope that one day that can change, but for now, that's the reality. Yeah.
So you believe these are provocative, like agent provocateurs on the ground in these areas right now?
Well, just because there are agent provocateurs doesn't mean there aren't real problems, doesn't mean there aren't real disenfranchised people that are actually protesting there, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because the great difficulty with people in any part of the world is that they don't really know what it is they want. And in fact, it's so much easier. How many times, Mark, have you heard somebody say we need a revolution? All the time, right?
Yep.
Okay. How many times have you heard somebody said, well, after the revolution, we need to ensure that this system and such is in place so that the country doesn't descend into tyranny? How many people have you talked to have said that?
Well, definitely less, yeah.
Less, if any, all right? Because nobody's thinking about the consequences of their actions, are they? They're just thinking about reactionary tactics to something that's oppressing them. They're not taking the long view. They're not thinking about the day after tomorrow, okay? Do you want to go sleep with this woman? Okay, good. Are you going to have to chew your arm off in the morning in order to get away from her? Yeah, you probably will, but you're not thinking about that now, are you? Because you just want to get laid. That's basically the same kind of thing that's going on here. You wind up having a revolution. You think, oh, it's great, it's fantastic. We're going to have the Red Revolution. We're going to execute the bankers and what have you. And then who winds up in charge of your wonderful communist paradise? The bankers. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they finance both frickin' sides of the revolution. Yeah, it's a depressing one because we've got to understand that the New World Order actually understands how we think a lot better than we do in most cases. Yeah. That's what's really scary.
Yeah, problem, reaction, solution. And one thing I wanted to mention too about this, since we're on the topic, is I mean, a lot of people might even say that it's the Masons' agenda to do this, like a Freemasonic agenda, because if you look in their readings and their teachings, it says that they need to bring chaos in order to reach order. And there's even talk about disrupting governments and creating revolutions to be able to create a one world government system, a total world ownership, essentially, operating the world under one grid. And I mean, I can't really say that it's a Freemason conspiracy going on here, but it's definitely worth pointing out and looking into that about their agenda and what they truly want. And that's important to point out in this, because with Ukraine, there is reports of Western backing that, as well as the leaders of the opposition or the leaders of the protesters having ties to, ultra right wing groups and other groups like that. So it's very hard. And you are right. A lot of people are just going to jump in because they see the fist, they see that symbol, and they're just going to jump in and follow that, thinking that it's for a good cause. Because I'll admit there is a lot of things that need to be addressed in the world today within regards to the way we're treated as human beings, and that's why people are wanting to protest and have a revolution, I guess. But these people totally understand that, and they're willing to spearhead the whole thing so they can guide it in their direction to get their outcome. And it's a scary thought.
When you say Freemasons, bear in mind that there are many, many different branches of Freemasonry. And the original concept of Freemasonry was about giving occult knowledge, guidance, wisdom, things of that nature to its initiates. However, because it was a secret society, like most secret societies, it wound up getting infiltrated by Scumbaggery. It happens all the time. Scumbaggery grafts itself to secrecy. It loves it, can't get enough of it. And so naturally, if you're in a secret society, you can be guaranteed that there's going to be a Scumbaggery element within there. However, it's a very broad church, this whole Freemasonry, and I got nothing against Blue Lodges, Shriners, or any of these other people, because they're actually most of them are trying to seek enlightenment. Most of them aren't psychopaths. Most of them are just porch masons, to be honest, who just go there to get away with it from their wives and have a few drinks with some older men that wear white gloves and white aprons. See, there's nothing necessarily wrong or evil about that. However, the 33rd degree, the Supreme Council in Dallas, has had a whistleblower come out called James Robert Wright, and he has exposed a shockingly large amount of scary things. For example, have you heard of the Sentinel program?
Yes, yeah.
And for those who are uninitiated, the Sentinel program is a list of all Freemasons worldwide, pretty much. Who they are, what job they do, everything. So if that Supreme Council makes you its enemy, it means that any Mason anywhere in the country or the world, for that matter, could potentially come knocking at your door. And lots of cops, politicians, lawyers, and people of officialdom do in fact belong to these secret societies, and they have loyalty and oaths to those secret societies a hell of a lot more than they do to somebody like you, who might be exposed in this Scumbaggery. So when you talk about Freemasonry, it's overall not a bad thing. But if you talk about the Supreme Council of the 33rd degree, of the Scottish Rite, specifically of Freemasonry, specifically the 33rd degree Masons that are right up the very, very top, totally different story.
Yeah, and then it branches out from there, You get all these other groups and sublets and denominations, and that's where the evil lies for sure.
Everybody's trying to be sure of things, okay? I'm sure that the Jews are behind everything. I'm sure that it's just the Rockefellers. I'm sure that it's just the Rothschilds. I'm sure that it's just the Council on Foreign Relations. I'm sure that it's just the Trilateral Commission. I'm sure that it's just the City of London. I'm sure that it's the Vatican. I'm sure that it's Washington, D.C. I'm sure it's Barack Obama that's behind absolutely everything. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Stop trying to think that you'll ever have it all figured out. Doesn't mean stuff can't be figured out. But stop trying to think that at any point you're going to stop learning and have it all sussed. That's freaking retarded. Okay? How big is the world? Pretty freaking huge, right? Much bigger than your living room, isn't it? How familiar are you with your living room? Very familiar. It's your freaking living room. You positioned the furniture around there, didn't you? You go into the next door neighbor's living room that you haven't met before, all of a sudden you're in a completely different environment and you don't know what the hell's going on. You don't know where everything's supposed to be and what have you. You don't even know the rules are. You don't even know whether or not you need to take off your frickin' shoes before you enter the lodgings. Okay? See? You don't know everything. And as soon as you think that you got everything figured out, that's when you'll discover something that makes you look like an idiot. So, I came up with a saying. Person who thinks he knows everything knows nothing.
Yeah.
The person who thinks that he knows very little knows enough. Right? That's basically my philosophy here. Keep learning, keep exposing, and keep looking. Okay, because as soon as you decide that you've made a decision, I'm going to plant my flag. Okay, it's the Jews. Okay, and I'm gonna go up on YouTube comment sections and every single Facebook post for everybody, and I'm going to comment in full capital letters with links to really, really shoddy websites that don't know how to do their research to prove to everybody that it's the Jews, it's the Jews, it's the Jews. I freaking hate those people. And there are variants of that exact same mentality in damn near every sector of the conspiracy industry. And when you come at, bear in mind, I use the word conspiracy industry literally. This is an industry. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen. The difference being that this is an industry that is allegedly supposed to be making money off of telling the truth and doing the right thing. There might be very many people in this industry who don't tell the truth, who don't do the right thing, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still an industry based upon those principles, or at least allegedly so. And so if you're going to wind up making any headway, you've got to do two things. Number one, realize it ain't about you. All right? You're one fish in a giant, endless sea. Number two, don't assume that people move from being a brainwashed slave who believes everything the government says and believes everything the mainstream media says, who's an alcoholic and a drug abuser or something of that nature. Don't assume that just because they've woken up to a little thing called the New World Order, that suddenly all of those bad habits, all of that mind control, and all of that stupidity just suddenly disappears because, I'm now a truther. We are damaged people, all of us, and we all used to be asleep. And don't blame people who are yet to be awake, okay? Did you wake up because somebody blamed you for being asleep? No, you didn't, did you? Actually, it was because somebody tried to tell you the truth, and instead of ignoring them that one time, you wound up going out and doing a little bit of research, and then a rabbit hole opens up, and you do more and more and more and more and more research until you get to the point where you freak out, okay? And you have to change your entire life, and you can't keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Be compassionate.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And you are right. There is a lot of people out there who, they won't wake up. They just can't. They're scared to look at this because it's, as you said earlier, it is traumatic. It's a traumatic experience. You have to go through this shock wave to really wake you up. That's why they call it waking up, because before that you're asleep, and it just, when you're awake, you're like that. It's.
But that's where the analogy. But that's where the analogy ends for some people. I wake up. Okay, well, think about take the analogy through to its logical conclusion.
Then you got to rise after that. You got to rise after you wake up.
Yeah, you got to get out of bed, right?
Yeah.
And what do you normally do after you get out of bed in the morning? You go take a wiki leak, don't you? Because you've got crap in your system that you need to expel that's accumulated and built up over the time that you were asleep. Okay? Emotionally speaking, that's what you got to do. You have to purge all of that crap out of your system. Then, after you've purged a bit of the crap out of the system, what else do you do then after you've done that? Well, you've got to have some breakfast, some coffee or something like that, and you've got to not only be awake, but you've actually got to be energized. You've got to give yourself energy for the fight that is ahead. What do you do after you've energized yourself in the morning? Well, you go to work, don't you? Okay? You wake up to the New World Order, purge all of its brainwashing crap from you, energize yourself with information, and then go out and fight against these people. Go to work. Get it done. And bear in mind that even people who have a slave job get holidays. This is another thing that truthers don't get as well. Give yourself some frickin' time off now and then. Otherwise, you just drive yourself insane. You overwork yourself, and you're incapable. personally, I have to do this thing full time because of a psychological thing. I call it employer phobia, a fear of being employed. And this is a real illness, I know, because I made it up with no scientific evidence, just like all the other real mental illnesses. And what it means is that if I go into a job interview, the thought of selling people things. I used to be a salesman, can't you tell? Telemarketer, the worst kind of salesman, can't you tell? You take all that in, and all of my memories of those bad work experiences and everything start coming up in my mind again. Even my best friend Jono was going to give me a job doing door knocking, selling insulation for people. Okay, and the night before I had a panic attack, full-on panic attack, like fully hyperventilating and everything like that. I literally can't work anymore. I'm physically incapable of doing it. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm lazy. If anything, I work harder than any media personality in this entire country. Like, and it's not even like arguable.
You don't have an editing team. You don't have a team behind you. It's one guy doing it. It's a lot of work.
I do what 10 people can't do in a shorter period of time, half the time.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Now, it's not because I'm Superman. It's because I'm bright and I'm lazy. Okay? Let me qualify. Because I'm lazy, I don't like working real hard. And because I'm bright, I figure out ways that I can accomplish something that appears like a lot without actually having to work as hard as other people would spend in order to accomplish it. Okay? Sort out methodologies and whatnot. I once cut together 3 full-length documentaries with multiple camera angles in 3 nights.
Yeah, it's good.
It normally takes somebody a year to do one. Okay? I've got that methodology of getting stuff done as quickly as humanly possible down to a T. That's why I appear to accomplish so much in short periods of time. That's why I can do 10 times as much work as most people do. Because I've been doing it for long enough that all of my methodologies are down. It's a well-oiled machine. There's no messing around. And the job just needs to be done every single day. And because I don't have to go into an office, because I don't have to pay for gas in order to do so, and because I don't have a slave job that I have to work at 40 hours a week, I can and do spend minimum of 12, usually upwards of 14, sometimes 16-hour days editing and exposing Scumbaggery. And I don't feel like I'm accomplishing as much as I hope to as yet. It would be nice to have a team. I would like to be able to upgrade and expand the operation to include things that are of real value, credibility, and what have you, and basically do very similar job to what Alex Jones has done with InfoWars, except I'll be doing it with guerrilla media, with a much smaller budget, far more dedicated, multi-talented people in the thing, and people are able to make their own money as a result of doing these things. And I think that if I can teach others to do what I'm doing, it would be just a massive, forgive me for using the vaccine analogy, a shot in the arm for the human information immune system. All right. And it's kind of like I consider myself sort of like an information white blood cell. I seek out the cancerous viral weaponry that they're sending downstream with their fallacies and BS and outright lies and scumbaggery. And I kill and destroy and attack that stuff because it's not good for the human race, is it?
Absolutely
it's just not good.
it's funny that you say that it's like a cancerous growth, because that's what it is. And also, I wanted to mention, you're talking about how, you can't know everything. You're stupid if you think you do. A good analogy to kind of shape that out is everything in life grows, and knowledge and wisdom is kind of the same thing. When you're learning, you're growing as an individual. Your mind is growing, your body's growing, and if you look in nature, everything in nature grows as well. The trees, the plants grow, and when they stop growing, they're dying. So when you stop learning, or you say to yourself, "I know everything, there's nothing more I could learn," then you're pretty much waiting to die. Essentially, that's one thing I've always said, for sure.
It's like retiring, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they would retire after working their entire life, get depressed and die soon after, because they suddenly find that there's no actual meaning to their life, and they wasted their entire life working for somebody else who didn't give a crap about them and gives them a cheap gold watch, like on Speed.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Now, I don't know about you, Mark. In fact, I do know about you, because you're very similar to me in this respect. I realize that the human race needs my help. I realize that the human race needs all of us. All of us. We all have inherent abilities, talents, skills, etc., that can actually help to expose the scumbaggery and advance the human race down a path to betterment. However, most people are in denial of this. Not for reasons of their own volition, but because the system teaches you two words: learned helplessness. If you think that you're helpless, you decide not to help. That's people's problems, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you get off your ass and you actually start doing something, that's when you realize, not before, but after you've done something that requires a lot of courage, that's when you realize how much courage it took. That's when you realize how much courage you actually have. That's how you realize that you are not made of glass. You don't just shatter at the first sign of trouble. You actually can take a hit. And I encourage people to go out there and inflict pain on themselves. Not in a cutting your own wrists or with razor blades or anything like that sense of the word. I'm talking about psychological pain. You need to be feeling senses of rejection. You need to be working so hard that your legs almost give out on your way to the kitchen to get another coffee, because you're so tired that you haven't really got any energy left in your body, yet you keep working. Push yourself to the limits. Test every single orifice in your body for what it can handle and what it cannot. If you do not push yourself through these trials, through this trauma, you will never become what you were hoping to become. There was a great motivational speech. And this,
I think we just heard one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but this dude wanted to make money. Okay, and so this guru says, okay, well, join me at 4 a.m. on the beach. This is Venice Beach, California. And so he turns up to the beach at 4 o'clock, and he's dressed in a suit and tie. He's just like, I think this guy's going to teach him how to make money. And the guy's like sitting there going, why are you dressed in a suit and tie coming to the beach, mate? And he's like, well, I thought we were going to be like doing business and stuff. And he's like, okay, well, walk into the water then. He's like, but I'm dressed in a suit. Do you want to make money or not? He goes, yeah, okay, all right. So he walks into the water fully clothed. And he's up to his knees. And Guru says, go out further. He goes out further, and he's up to his chest. And he goes, go out even further. And he goes out, and he's up to his neck. And he goes, okay, just hold it there for a minute. And he goes, how much do you want to make money? How much? And he says, well, I really, really do. And he goes, okay, put your head under the water. He's like, well, what? Put your head under the water. So he does. And he's sitting there. He's got his head under the water, starts running out of breath, and then starts to come back up. And the guru holds his head under the water. And the guy starts struggling as hard as he can to try and get him out. And then the guru lets his head up. And he goes, man, you were just trying to drown me. He says, no, I'm teaching you a lesson. You want to make money? You got to want it. You got to want it as much as you wanted that breath right now. You want to stay up at 4 o'clock in the morning working and what have you, when everybody else wants to have their sleep in Betty buys. Those people won't make any money. You will. because you're up there. You're there for those opportunities. You're there to take those important business calls from Europe at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, you get up. You're motivated for that. Okay, and I thought this was actually quite a profound lesson. Is people are too freaking comfortable, aren't they, Mark?
Yeah, they get comfortable, and it's the way the world is designed for that. The political systems, the industries, all that stuff is designed to keep us like that, to keep us contained and occupied. That's what they call a job, an occupation. And I totally have to agree with what you were saying there before about having a fear to go to work and work, because I recently went through the same thing as I mentioned earlier. I just started working like a couple weeks ago at a call center, by the way. So I'm doing the same thing you were doing. It's scumbaggery, I would say, in my opinion, too. But at the same time, we got to make money. There comes a time where we have bills to pay. We have in rising cost in rent, rising cost of food, rising cost of cell phone bills, rising cost of electricity, water, hydro, all this stuff. Yet we have the technology and the knowledge to change all that. Yet these systems are in place. They're like they're blocking us, And that's why it is important that, like you say, we need to fight this. We need to feel that pain and that urge to want it, and then only then will it succeed. So
yeah, and that analogy that I was giving was about a person who wanted money as much as he wanted his next breath so he could survive. I want to expose scumbaggery as much as I want my next breath to survive, because, and this is a very good reason for doing that, if the scumbaggery is not exposed, if these people are not opposed, there will be no breath for me or anybody ever again. Not a free breath, not a clean breath, no breath whatsoever. We're going to get exterminated. And I think that was actually probably my main motivation, is because I value my life. I don't want to die before my time. I want to live a long, full life. I want to know people who do wonderful things, who think incredible thoughts, who speak powerful truths. I don't want to die before I've heard as much as I possibly can. I don't want my life to be restricted, nor my mind, nor my soul. I want to expand out in every direction like the light from a sun. And if you ever get to the point in your life where you feel like giving up, where you feel like it's just not worth it anymore, take a couple of weeks off. All right, we all get like that. It's actually really, really hard doing this for a living, emotionally speaking, because you're talking to people every single day who've suffered trauma, and if you hear their trauma, part of it comes off of them, and if you're empathetic like me, it comes on to you and it attaches itself to you. I had a woman come around to my house who had whose child was being groomed by pedophiles, and those pedophiles actually happen to be the people who run the childcare services in this country and write the laws for them. And with a phone call, they were able to get her locked in a mental institution for trying to expose them. And at the same time, she had cancer. And at the same time, they're forcibly doping her up. And at the same time, again and again and again, all these different terrible things. After she left my house that day, I spent 6 hours talking to her, and she wouldn't be quiet for even 1 minute of those 6 hours, constantly hearing all this terrible stuff that had happened to her. I was so emotionally drained by that. It was like the lifeblood has been sucked out of me, that I was like, okay, I'm going to drink one of those bottles of wine that we didn't finish at our wedding. I'm drinking it right now. I just had to get really, really, really just blind-faced drunk just in order to deal with the fact that all this stuff really does go on, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Well, we can do some things, but it is essentially there's a big. It's hard to say what to do, right? That's the problem. It is really hard to say what to do when you're just one person, I think.
Well, the thing is, you can't change things that have already happened. Was my point.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Can't do anything to change that. Much like in my life, I've got past trauma with work, and at university that was really tough as well, and I've been kind of like overweight my entire life, and In fact, I was just remembering this morning what it was like when I was 11 years old at St. Peter's College, and there were 31 kids in my class, and there were 2 of them, including me, that didn't tease me all day, every day for being fat. That, just trying to remember back then what it felt like to be all alone. And the other person who wasn't abusing me just didn't do anything. They weren't my friend or anything. I had no friends in that class. I was surrounded by enemies and cruel kids, and that was quite painful. And I think that's part of the thing that has really damaged me. And I don't know how to get over these traumas. I don't know why I keep thinking about them, because they happened and they're gone, yet the memory never goes away. It reminds me of the Will Smith film, The Legend of Bagger Vance, and Matt Damon was in it, and he was like a golf pro who like totally messed up, and he become like a full-on alcoholic. A child asking him, you're a great golf pro. Why are you just like drinking all the time? And he says something along the lines of, well, you can drink so much liquor and then you forget who you are first of all, and then you start acting like a different person because it kills some of your brain cells and it stops you from being who you are to a degree. But there's these some bitches that are in your mind. These are the memory parts of your mind that take a hell of a lot more alcohol to kill. And he wanted to kill his memories so that he wouldn't have to remember. He wouldn't have to feel what it felt like to be a failure. And I actually really resonated with that, because I would love to be able to forget how much of a pain in the ass it was to be a kid, how frustrating it was to go through all of high school, how painful it was to be the most talented person working at a really large company and being asked to leave within 5 minutes because I wrote a 7-page essay about what was wrong with the company and ensuring that I never had any of those issues that were affecting all of the employees of the company addressed. I always cared about other people because I guess it's because nobody really cared about me. That's what it felt like, to a large degree. That said, another part of my memory that I really don't want to lose is favoritism. I've been a favorite of people. I have a really profound influence. Because I'm quite genuine, people get me right away or they hate me right away. If they're a false piece of crap themselves, they'll hate me right away. They'll try and make my life hell. But if they're genuine, like me, if they're kind, if they're loving, if they're nurturing and what have you, they protect me. They love me. They care for me. My wife's like that. My friends are like that. A lot of my colleagues in the truth movements are like that. Whenever I even express even the slightest emotional outburst on Facebook or Skype or anything like that, I have this plethora of people just coming at me going, Vinny, are you okay? Vinny, do you need help? Vinny, do you need this? Vinny, do you need that? And I was like, what a great juxtaposition. To go from being surrounded by people who are giving you abuse for no good reason to being surrounded by people who are your emotional support base just because they're genuine like me. And I think that's actually quite a profound realization that I'm only just having now.
That's a good one.
I just want to let everybody know how grateful I am, because I get ruled by my emotions to a large degree. I mean, I may be happy and jovial and philosophical and whatnot from time to time, but at the end of the day, my pain and my rage is just underneath the surface here. It's just underneath, and it's so easy to have it come out, and people can just pull my strings like a puppet, and I'll start getting really, really angry and enraged like I don't know. You may not have ever seen me angry, but I actually really scare people. I scare the hell out of them. And when I hear recordings of myself acting that way that I do, it even scares me. So I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know entirely what's wrong with the world. All I know is whatever the hell is going on right now, it's not frickin' good enough. And if you stop trying to improve yourself, if you stop trying to do a bit of introspection and learn from your own mistakes, if you stop trying to care about other people, if you stop trying to have any form of self-improvement, you're already dead. It's like that. It's like that learned helplessness thing. No matter how bad things get, you can still breathe. That means you're still alive. That means you're not dead yet. And until you die, there is no reason to ever give up.
Yeah, it sounds like what you were going through when you were younger, you chose the right path. You chose to deal with it in a certain way as you grew older, because a lot of people, they do go through that kind of treatment. It's a cruel world out there, especially in schools and educational systems with the youth and stuff. And our TV and our media teaches us to be divided and be against each other and all that stuff, and to ridicule each other. And all too often, when people are ridiculed at a young age, they take the negative path. They become depressed. The criminals, they kill other people. They have no caring or compassion. They end up overdosing. There's all sorts of problems that can evolve because of that. But it's good to see that you chose the right path and you're doing a good thing and you're actually helping people now. Somebody who went through that is now helping somebody. And that's the transition, I think, that a lot of people need to do. They need to see the world for what it is and not take that wrong path. And I commend you for what you're doing. You're a scholar and a gentleman, sir. I got to say that for sure.
Yeah, I know. I am pretty awesome. But and that's actually the other element of my personality. Is I don't lie to myself about how good I am at what I do. Everybody else seems to be really bashful because they don't want everybody to see them as being too full of themselves. Well, at the end of the day, I have perfect justification for everything that I do. I have emotional justification, financial justification, physical justification, and pretty much any form of justification you can really conceive of. That's how I live my life. I don't like people who live their life when they don't have any justification for doing these things that they do. And so naturally, I've decided I won't ever become one of those douchebags.
Good stuff. And yeah, one thing I didn't get to mention earlier when we were talking about your show and stuff, seeing as you have met a lot of people and talked to a lot of people through your show, you've had countless guests on your show, and you've, as I could see, and I'm sure you have, you've learned quite a bit from these guests. Who would you say is the best guest that you've had on, or what are some of the most memorable experiences you've had doing what you do, broadcasting on the Vinny Eastwood Show?
I think Cliff High comes to mind from halfpasthuman.com. He was a really good interview. Lindsay Williams was always fun. In fact, because I'm only 29, I have a lot of people who listen to my show and I interview on my show, and people who are my friends who are all older than me. In a lot of cases, significantly older than me. And it occurs to me that I've been accumulating knowledge and wisdom beyond my years for so long that now people recognize that I have knowledge and wisdom beyond my years. Here's the problem. All those people have shared their hard-earned and hard-won knowledge with me for free. I haven't earned any of the knowledge that they have given me. That's why I tried, at least in some ways, to be humble in the fact that knowing that I don't know everything, knowing that I haven't talked to everybody. I remember somebody asked me once, if you go down the list of the interviews on my show, it's insane the amount of variation that is there in terms of the different guests. I've got to go in 5 minutes to be on another show, by the way, Mark, so we'll have to wrap it up. But somebody asked me once, Vinny, oh my God, is there anybody that you haven't interviewed? And I said, billions.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, because one thing that somebody told me, I think it might have been my producer, Mitch Santel. By the way, if you ever want to hire somebody who can tutor you into radio and turn you into like a machine of talk radio, you go and you search for Mitch Santel and you hire his ass. Oh my God, he's unbelievable. He's like a cheerleader with pom poms kind of thing for you, you know. But everybody's got a story. Everybody, you know. I take on people who have never been on radio before, don't even have a good radio voice, don't even have much of a website or anything like that, or basically they only just have a Facebook page profile or whatever that they post a few links on, and I bring them on the show for 3 hours, and we actually have a really good time, have a really good conversation, like you're sitting at a cafe meeting somebody who's really fabulous that you just met. The difference being that tens of thousands of people are listening, right? And I think it's because I really have been the underdog, and so hence I have an affinity for them, to stand up with them and behind them. I think it gives me such a unique perspective on how the world works, and indeed my I don't know, emotional need to rebel, you know, in the Star Trek Spock sense of the word, is partly driven by the fact that I've had all these traumas in the past. So, you know, I think that's basically the lesson of alchemy, isn't it? You take what's there and you take it into something that is impossible to make from it, you know, but you do it anyway, don't you?
Yeah. That is life. We grow, right? We change. We need to change. If you're not changing, you're staying the same. And as we said, just waiting to die, I guess. You're not growing and learning anything. So, but yeah, you do got to get going for your interview there. And I just wanted to take this time to thank you very much for coming on the show. I think it was a very good interview and, you know, very heartfelt and inspirational. That's the word, I think, for the show, is inspirational. I think you're going to give people words of wisdom to go home and think about and really, you know, empower them to do something about this. And
yeah,
I really hope that you could keep your show going, Vinny. You deserve it. And I have faith. I have faith that you're going to keep going, for sure, buddy.
all right. Thank you. And also, ladies and gentlemen, remember, I am in desperate need of about $900 within the next few days, so please go to thevinnyeastwoodshow.com and donate right now. Now, the knowledge that I may have imparted on you, or any inspiration that you've gotten, just remember what Tom Hanks said to Matt Damon in Saving Private Ryan. Earn it. Earn this. People have died and suffered their entire lives so that this knowledge can be passed on to me, so that I can pass it on to you. I'm trying to earn it by passing it on. Don't make it be in vain. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you later at thevinnieeastwoodshow.com, I guess.
Yeah, VinnyEastwood.com. Check his show out. And when is your show live, just for the listeners out there?
It's not live. Pre-recorded, 3 hours a day now.
Okay, yeah. So constant flow of information. Check him out every day. Daily Vinny Eastwood. Thanks for being on the show, Vinny.
Thanks,
and best
mate.
of luck with
See
the
you later.
interview. Cheers.
All right, all good, bro. I'll catch you later.
Yeah. Well, there we have it, folks. Vinny Eastwood. He's a busy guy, fighting for the truth, getting this information out to the people. I knew he'd be a good guest to have on the show because of his experience in this aspect of broadcasting, getting information out, plus all the guests he's spoken to. And as you could see, very inspirational, very heartfelt guy. You know, he's absolutely right. We do need to change. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world, and people aren't doing anything about it. Now, there is people speaking out against it. You know, it is very hard as well to figure out what to do about this stuff. But everybody can do something. That's the most important thing here. The thing here is that everybody can do something, and everybody is important. For everybody out there who may think that they're not significant, or they're not important, or they can't do something, just think, everything in this entire world, everything that is in existence on this planet right now, has come from a thought or is there. It exists. So nothing is impossible, is what I'm trying to say. One can argue, oh, it's impossible to do like 15 flips in the air and land on one arm and keep balanced. Well, I'll tell you, it's not impossible if you're dreaming it, and that's where it starts, people. Definitely starts there. And to make this a reality, to change what is needed to be changed, we do have to focus on this stuff, and we have to believe in it. We have to dream. It has to be our dream. It has to be our goals. You know what I mean? It has to be our reality. We can make this our reality. And it goes to show, let's just say I seen a trash bag on the side of the highway, driving down the highway, and I was disappointed by seeing that trash bag on the highway. I could pass by it 5 times, 6 times on my way to work, whatever, driving by. And one of these days you're gonna pick up that garbage bag and throw it in the back of your car or truck, and you're gonna drive it and toss it somewhere else. You're gonna get rid of that garbage. You're gonna get it off the side of the road and get rid of it. That's what we gotta do. We gotta get rid of it, because then when you're driving by or walking by, you don't see it, and that's the key. When you don't see it, it's not there. So we can change this, and once we change this, then we will see it, and it will be our reality. And that's a very important thing to point out. If we don't have that mentality, if everybody doesn't have that mentality, then what we see will be what we allow others to see for us. And that's the whole governmental system right there. Govern, to control, and mental, your mind. So keep that in mind. Govern mental. They can't govern my mental, that's for sure. Thanks for joining me, folks, on Unveiling the Truth tonight. Special guest Vinny Eastwood. And don't forget to check out the website, www.unveilingthetruth.com. Updating the website as much as I can. And also subscribe to the YouTube channel, Unveiling the Truth, to keep up to date with the latest broadcasts. They go on YouTube, and you can check them out right away if you're subscribed. It'll show up in your feed so that you could see right when the new episodes are posted. And also subscribe to my personal channel, Mark Howitt, because I do post other videos on there that aren't Unveiling the Truth episodes, but they are related to this materials, obviously. So check out that as well. And I just want to thank everybody for watching the show again today. I think it was a really good one, and I think that Vinny really said some important things, and I hope that people really enjoyed the show today. So until next time, peace.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of the fastest 2 hours in talk radio. It's the Vinny Eastwood Show, broadcasting live on AmericanFreedomRadio.com 5 days a week, 10 a.m. till midday in New Zealand, 5 till 7 Central in the United States, 6 till 8 Eastern, 3 till 5 Pacific, and if you're in the Uber Kingdom, 11 till 1 o'clock in the morning. And good old Graham's getting himself some Betty by time now. And we are going to our next guest now. We have Mark Howitt, named after the Howitzer. Mark, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are, what it is you do?
Yeah, I'm a documentary filmmaker, a musician. I'm the founder of the World Public Union. And basically, I'm on something called the March of Freedom right now, where I'm traveling across Eastern Canada. I'm walking wherever I can. I've had to take some rides on major highways where it's illegal to walk on, and that was also used to get myself to certain cities where there was seminars set up where I was doing public speaking arrangements. So I did have to get rides around the highway, but I'm almost done that stretch now. When I get to Montreal, I'll be walking from Montreal to the east coast of Canada, to the ocean. And I've talked to thousands and thousands of Canadians, countless Canadians. And I've also been talking with people around the world online for many years now about the problems that we face. And I'm trying to gather people's concerns. And I'm doing a reality show under the same name called The March of Freedom. And I've documented tons of videos, tons of conversations, interviews, just the experience that I've been through. And I've got a lot of people's concerns. And it seems like a lot of them are common. You know what I mean? A lot of people have common problems. They know what's wrong with the world, and the problems that people are saying that they know about are pretty much similar. So that's a good sign, right?
And do you have a website there?
Yes, the website is worldpublicunion.org. That's the only website I have going right now. And I am looking for other people to help with that website, to contribute news articles and stuff like that. So it's very hard to do it all on my own, and especially while I'm away from home, not on the internet a lot and stuff. So
Yeah. We I remember we had a bit of a conversation on Facebook about trying to get you on to some Wi-Fi so you could actually do this interview. And it appears that you're incredibly busy. And indeed, one of my listeners recommended you to come on the show because he feels that you're doing one of the most important things for Canadian sovereignty that anybody's really ever done. And can I ask, what motivated you to get out there, be the documentary filmmaker, and actually start this organization?
Well, the World Public Union started in 2011. It was in between a couple documentaries I made. I came up with the idea, and that was essentially to give the power back to the people, to give the voice back to the people, because politicians and corporations and banks are not listening to the people. They're serving their own agendas. They're doing their own things that do not benefit the public. And when people do gather around the world, yeah, even locally, their voices aren't heard. They're falling on deaf ears, and their concerns are not being addressed. So the World Public Union was a way for a group to start locally in the community, so that there is a group of people that are essentially going to keep the government in check when they do pass laws and legislation that don't benefit other people. Then there would be a group locally of activists and like-minded individuals that could actually do something about it, and share resources and work together to make a positive difference locally. And then the World Public Union also works together globally. So all these communities, when there is groups there, they can share ideas, strategies, tactics that they've used to benefit their concerns, essentially.
What's your stance on taxation?
Taxation. Well, there's a lot of problems in the world, and all of it seems to boil down to money. That's one thing I've noticed, and a lot of people say that on this journey. They say, "I wish I had enough money to pay my rent this month, or this month. I wish I had enough money where I didn't have to work 2 jobs to support my family. I wish I didn't have to pay my taxes this month because the taxes are shorting me out." You know, there's a lot of people that are concerned about money issues, monetary issues, and to me, taxes are just a way to get more money out of the people. I know that some of the tax money is used for municipal and community programs like fixing roads and such things like that are necessary for the community. However, we don't really get records of where this money is going. They usually keep that stuff secret, withheld from the public. You're meant to pay your taxes. And if you did the math, there's billions and billions and billions of dollars that are taken from the people through taxation. And that's what I feel about taxation and money altogether. I think money is the root of all evil. Money is the problems that's causing divisions around the world. There's people starving in third world countries, and there really shouldn't even be a third world country. That term shouldn't even exist. But if one person along this journey brought this to my attention, if there is a third world country, then what is a first world and second world country? Like, it really boggles the mind that there is such division in the world. Despite the year that we're living in and the technologies we have and the communication we have. There's the internet, which connects us globally, where ideas are shared very quickly. And it's unbelievable that people have to fight. For example, March Against Monsanto. Millions around the world gathered on a single day to protest genetically modified foods. And they're still creating genetically modified foods. So that is absolute proof that they're not listening to the people's voice.
Yeah, indeed. You know, I led the march for Monsanto down here in New Zealand. I mean, the organisers were just like, okay, we've had our speeches. And it's raining, so let's disband. And a whole bunch of people came up to me and said, Vinny, you know, we came here to march. Can you lead us? And it's like, well, yeah. and it's just like
Yeah, a lot of people seem to need a leader, right? They seem to think that they need a leader, which is also boggling my mind, because we should be our own leaders. I think we should take responsibility for ourselves and our own actions, and that's really going to help once people get over that I need a leader mentality. I think people will take control themselves, and we'll see a big difference.
Well, it does help if you're the only one with a 100-watt megaphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your voice would definitely be louder than others with that technology.
Well, it was actually, that was where I came up with the Monsanto opera. He was like, Monsanto, you suck, bro. And we had a lot of fun. And it was interesting what you were saying there about, people wish they had more money for this. They wish they didn't have to do 2 jobs. They wish. And that reminds me of a movie called The Island. And one of the clones says, what's God? And he goes, well, when you close your eyes and you want something, you wish for it, God's the guy who ignores you.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do pray. A lot of people think that God's going to save them. If they think that, they keep thinking about with that mentality, it's the same thing as putting your responsibilities on a leader. You're expecting somebody to save you without doing anything yourself, and that's not how the world works. I know that if I'm going to walk across the street, that takes my decision to move my legs to get me across the street. God's not going to get me there, and that's what we have to realize. Like I don't find there's anything wrong with religious or believing in God or believing in a creator or a higher spirit or anything like that. To each their own. But there comes a point where you do have to take responsibility for your own actions and realize that the choices you make today reflect the actions that will be seen tomorrow. So,
Speaking of which, I had a concept about what the new taxation scheme should be, and I was asking people, have you ever been asked to pay your taxes voluntarily? No. So it's forced, right? And so if you're 100% taxed, you know that you're a slave. But what percentage of forced taxation does it take before you think that you're not a slave? And I was like, okay, well, here's a good taxation system, at least I think. A checklist. So you send people a sheet, and it has like a whole bunch of boxes to tick about what they want their tax money to go on. So you'd have everything on there, healthcare, roading, foreign wars, government limousines, military, militarized police, tasers, mace, etc. And people could just tick what they want their tax money to go through. And I think that if you actually sent that out there, most of the things that we don't like in society, surprisingly enough, won't get any funding anymore, and so they'll just disappear.
Yeah, well, we don't have that option. Actually, they tax us, and they use the money for whatever purposes they feel necessary, and oftentimes it doesn't benefit the people. It benefits corporations who are fracking, who are taking the oil, who are taking minerals out of the earth, so that they can make profits off what we need to survive. And essentially, we're working. The money funnels up into a pyramid. The people on the bottom are the ones working, and all that money that we're making and all the resources that we're taking in our jobs and all that stuff funnels to the top of the pyramid. So it just funnels itself up to the top, to the round table group that's at the top, because we all know there is one. Just look at the Bilderbergers, look at the CFR. There is groups out there that do exist that are designed to shape world policy and decide what's right for us as human beings. And I find a big problem with that. I have a big problem with that personally. And the scary thing is a lot of people think that the Bilderbergers are a hamburger brand. They don't know who they are. They don't know that there is a roundtable group of powerful individuals who are the tops of corporations and media and government. So it's really been good doing this March of Freedom to teach people about things that they weren't aware of to begin with. But it's also good because I'm learning a lot from other people. And that's equally rewarding for me, is to not only spread the truth and make a difference in a local community or with a certain individual, but it's also really rewarding to learn something from other people. And I've learned something from everybody. It doesn't matter who they are. They could have no job. They could be a labor unions worker, all different kinds of people that are teaching me different things just from their perspectives. And I find that's really really good on this journey where I'm actually out there and physically in the public talking to people from all different kinds of communities. I've definitely learned a lot, which is good.
It must be.
I
It must be quite empowering.
Well, I just feel like it's the right thing to do. I'm not doing this for my own purposes or anything like that. I'm doing this to spread awareness and to hopefully unite people all around Eastern Canada and all the communities that I go through so that they are aware of some of the problems. And it's really interesting because when I talk to a lot of people about the problems that we face and a lot of the things that people will call conspiracy material, when I talk to them about it, you can actually see it in their eyes. Their lives change in a moment, which is really awesome. I really think that when I see that, it feels like I'm doing the right thing, and I've seen it. Like their eyes just change. They're like, whoa, like they never thought of life that way, or they never thought of it that way before. So it's the perspective thing. I think once they hear a different perspective that they can relate to, it can hopefully give them a bit of topic and subject matter to go home and think about when they get home, and then they would spread that information to their relatives, to their friends, to the people at work when they go to work. So it's that kind of thing, I think, that's really making a difference in what I'm doing, and it makes it all worthwhile. So
Now, I've seen a number of videos from. Can you turn your speakers down just a little bit there? A little bit of feedback. I've seen a number of videos that have been posted online, and even things like, say, Jay Leno or whatever, where they go around, they ask very, very, very simple questions just off of random people in the street to measure how dumb they are, and sure enough, the stupidity levels are just off the frickin' scale. And when you watch it, it's two things at the same time. It's really funny to see how stupid people are, but it's also really depressing because you realize what a deep ignorance hole society has gotten itself into. Which is why I applaud what you're doing, is because you're not going around trying to prove that everybody's an idiot. You're actually going around and unwittingly proving that there's so many intelligent people out there from which you, even though you know a lot, can still learn off.
Oh, absolutely. I think I try not to use the word sheep because that's a common term that people like to throw around, sheeple. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's the media's fault for not covering these topics and not telling people what's going on. That's the bottom line right there. You have the media being controlled by the government and the corporations, and they're choosing what the people can hear on their news. And a lot of times it's negative, depressing news, and it certainly has nothing to do with problem solving. It's always discussing the problems, but there's no solutions. They don't offer the solutions. They don't even bother to think about it or debate it or discuss it even. And that's, I think, where a lot of people are getting lost, and where someone might say somebody else is stupid or something like that because they're not educated enough on these issues. And that, I believe, has to do with the media, definitely. The media needs to start doing the right thing. So if you're in media and you're listening to this and you're watching, please do the right thing. Please start telling people about what's going on and stop protecting governments and corporations and serve the people, because you are people too. You're working a job, and is your job really worth it? Like, that's what I have to ask them. You know, are you really doing your job, or are you doing somebody else's job, or following somebody else's agenda? So it's great that there's independent media like you guys out there covering these topics so that people can get a chance to learn what's going on and hopefully make contacts, connections, and work together and find sources for information on these important subjects.
Yeah, and it's interesting you should mention the word sheeple, because I was just thinking about that this morning. You know, when you're kind of like, you don't know whether or not you're waking up or you're still dreaming, sort of thing. Like that's that sort of witching hour real early in the morning, and it's just like we've got to stop calling the people sheeple. Okay, that's one of the words the elite use. Okay,
yeah.
To call an ordinary person one of the sheeple is like calling a black person the N-word. In my opinion, you know, it's like a form of discrimination against people who. There's so much division everywhere, all the time. You see it wherever you look. You know, they're always talking about this, that, or the other issue to try and divide people, and I'm just not buying it anymore, man. And we all bleed red, and we're all frickin' slaves at the end of the day, you know. And it's just like, if you're not a slave, try going and ordering a police officer around at a protest or something like that. He won't follow your orders, even though he's your employee to a large degree, you know.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, come on. Just people that need to accept that the New World Order is real, and that we're all slaves. Okay, and from there, then. That's the realization. It's pretty harsh, it's pretty difficult to deal with, but from there, you can then start solving that problem. We'll be right back after the break, ladies and gentlemen, with Mark Howitt coming us live from Canada.
There comes a time in everyone's life where we must face the truth. But what is the truth? Did existence really begin with the Big Bang? Is what we've been taught in our history books some sort of fictional reality? It's hard to find the truth in a world full of lies. However, we do have the strength within us to find the truth, to unveil it, and present it to the world for what it really is. It's your world, your reality, your truth.